You are about to learn of a guy who has baffled psychologists and historians for years. Jean-Bedel Bokassa was born in the French colony of Ubangishari in Africa in 1921. When he was about 6 years old, his father was publicly beaten to death by French authorities. Days later, his grief-stricken mother committed suicide. Bokassa's relatives then sent him to school and started grooming him to become a priest. There, because he was constantly teased for his short height, he came to look up to another famous short fellow in history, Napoleon Bonaparte. Despite having lost his parents due to the French, Bokassa ironically became obsessed with all things French. So wanting to emulate his hero Napoleon, he never quite took to the idea of being a priest, so he joined the French army instead. During World War II, he fought with the French in Africa, took part in the liberation of France, and even took part in the invasion of Germany, and rose to the rank of Sergeant Major in the French army. Shortly after, he was deployed to Vietnam in French Indochina, where his combat gallantry earned him the Legion of Honor, France's highest military award. Commissioned as an officer, he returned to his homeland in 1959, which soon gained independence from France as the Central African Republic. With French support, he seized power in 1966, ruthlessly crushed all opposition, and declared himself president for life. With his continued obsession with Napoleon and all things French, he later declared his country to be an empire and then proclaimed himself emperor, just like Napoleon had done. He even invited the Pope to crown him, as had been the case with Napoleon. The Pope declined. Bokassa also commissioned the same company that had produced Napoleon's coronation outfit to do one for him too, and even flew in dozens of French chefs for the ceremony, all for an ungodly amount of money. In all, his coronation cost 1/3 of his country's annual GDP. No country's leader attended his coronation. In 1970, Bokassa publicly wept to the point of embarrassment during the funeral for former French President Charles de Gaulle, whom he had come to regard as a surrogate father. After facing lots of criticism, France soon began to distance itself from him. Upset, Bokassa switched his religion to Islam and sought assistance from Muslim countries. When they snubbed him too, he switched back to Catholicism. In 1979, after several massacres on his orders, he was deposed by French paratroopers, who then installed another puppet president. Bokassa sought exile in Ivory Coast, but knew his life was in danger from both his own people and from the French. So he invoked his rights as a former French army officer and sought refuge in France, knowing that they could not now kill him without someone being held criminally liable. But he did get some revenge of sorts against Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, the French president who had deposed him. That occurred when Bokassa helped reveal that he had illegally bribed that French president with diamonds before, and that French president's many visits to him in Central Africa was partly so that he could take part in sex parties with the local women. These allegations significantly contributed to that French president losing the next presidential elections. And Bokassa's obsession with France continued as he repeatedly lamented the French defeat at Dien Bien Phu in Vietnam, declaring that had he been present at that battle, France would have prevailed. He made his way back to Central Africa in 1986, hoping to regain power, but he was arrested, tried and sentenced to death. After serving about 7 years in prison, he was released in 1993, after which he proclaimed himself to be the 13th apostle of Jesus Christ. He died 3 years later in 1996.